Technical difficulties all the time. All the time.
Absolutely. Hey, it is time to breathe again on the latest breath. Ooh, I want to say, see, technical difficulties got both of us messed up there, Patrick.
Ooh.
So, it's time to breathe again on the
Yeah.
latest BOFA Sports webcast, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Sorry, we are a little bit late, a couple of minutes. Just trying to work through some technical issues with the internet. So, but we're gonna ride with this as long as
And
we
it is
can.
bad.
Yeah.
Hey,
What's up,
if you in
Aaron?
North Florida on the Panhandle, there's a reason why we got problems.
Yeah. What's going on,
See that
Aaron?
delay? Yeah. See that delay?
Yeah, I see it. So, Aaron, thanks for tuning in. And Aaron's like, let's go, let's get it. So let's see how far we can get. We'll just work through the issues as best as we can. And if we cut out, then we apologize, and then we'll see about doing a Friday show to make it up. You good with that though, Patrick? If you can't do it. Oh, you got a
Hey,
bad
we'll
delay.
work it in. I mean, dude, I got 4 inches of snow, so.
Aaron said, all I can say about the South getting snow is one of us. Hope y'all made a snowman. Did you get to make any snowman out there?
Tomorrow. Not yet.
Well,
There it is.
Well, shoot, we'll ride with this as long as we can. So I guess let's get started at first, Patrick, with the college football playoff national championship game. We have to come on here and congratulate the Ohio State Buckeyes because they won the title. I know, pretty gross, pretty grossed out by that myself. But they defeated Notre Dame 34-23, and it is their first championship since 2014. Hey, look, you have to give the Buckeyes credit. They, after the loss against Michigan, they went back, retooled, and said, we're going to go with what we recruited. And those playmakers, all of them balled out. Will Howard made big plays for him at quarterback, transferring from Kansas State. And we know what Jeremiah Smith and Ibuka have done outside on the receivers, and Judkins transferring from Ole Miss, joining Travion Henderson in that backfield, doing their thing. And then the defense was good throughout the playoff too. And look, no one can say they didn't earn it. I mean, they beat Tennessee. They beat a good Tennessee team pretty bad. Beat an Oregon team that was undefeated through the regular season, Big Ten champs. Oregon team that beat them earlier. And then they knocked us out 28-14 in a game that basically came down to 2 plays that Ohio State made. And then they beat Notre Dame pretty handily. I mean, Notre Dame made it pretty interesting going down the stretch, but when they needed that third down, they were able to hit a big play to Jeremiah Smith and then kick a field goal. So I'm not feeling good doing this, Patrick, as you know, and I'm sure you're not either. But they got it. They deserve this one. They earned this one. So all the credit goes to Ryan Day, who a couple of months ago was about getting jettisoned out of Columbus, and now he's a national champion. Excuse the delay. It's okay. Go ahead. Can you hear me, Patrick? Uh-oh.
Well, there's really not much you can say about it. Yeah, excuse me. The delay's on my end, I promise you. No, Ryan Day earned it. And can you not hear me?
I can now. It's going in and out.
All right, I'm just gonna go with it.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Oh, well,
Yep, I got you.
Do this for the whole time. Ryan, they earned it. He earned it, and you have to look at the Big Ten, and you have to say this: is the Big Ten as good as the SEC now? Because they've won their past two. They won the past two national championships, with Michigan winning last year and Ohio State winning this year. And how well the Big Ten played, even in all the bowl games. Big Ten with Michigan beating Alabama with a bunch of guys that nobody's heard of. 3 stars, and Alabama's throwing out there 4s and 5s, and they handled Alabama. So, I mean, we have to look and say, is the Big Ten up to par with the SEC now? And that hurts even more than winning 2 national championships back to back. So, Ohio State earned it. They had to go through 2 SEC teams, a Big Ten conference champ in Oregon, to get where they're at, to beat a Notre Dame team that is, to me, subpar, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of either one of these teams. So I hope the SEC is coming back with something next year, because I can't stand this.
Yeah, really difficult. And I think
you got me.
I got you. Yes. I don't. Hopefully you can hear me. But this is. I don't know. So I think for the Big Ten to get to the status the SEC has earned, they got to win like another 4 championships in a row. Because the SEC, man, they had a run. I mean, a run of dominance over 2 decades. And so the Big Ten, they had the one that we mentioned with the Buckeyes winning in 2014. And before that title, the last one they had was 2002. And so if in between, this is all SEC titles. I mean, they had a run where they won like 6-7 straight titles. And then Alabama had the run of dominance starting. They won their 6 in however many years, 12, 13 years. And Georgia with a couple. LSU won a couple within the last couple of decades as well. So I think the Big Ten, I'll say the gap right now has closed. I'll say that it's closed a little bit, but we got to see like 5 more titles in a row from the Big Ten before I'll say that they're right there with the SEC. But what the Big Ten can say is the depth in that conference has definitely stepped up over the years, and there are better teams in that conference where it's not just Ohio State and Michigan. Penn State actually probably took a step up this year, and I think teams like Illinois, maybe Minnesota coming up. Maybe Washington comes back through since they're part of the Big Ten now too. So we'll see how everything else steps up. But yeah, give them credit for these 2. So yeah, I think the gap might be closing a little bit. And I hope you heard all that. Very long.
I got it all. But the delays on my end, like I said. So I want to make the Sharpie and yeah, it's a very long. Dude, Ryan Day and his Sharpie beard is cracking me up because every time I see him, that's all I see now. That is it. That's all I see. So it cracks me up. It cracks me up every time I look at him. I just saw him yesterday and I was like, man, he better have a pen, a pad, and a Sharpie for the rest of this game because after he gets that Gatorade bath, he's gonna need a Sharpie.
All right, so Patrick, I'm gonna say something real quick, and I'm gonna stop because I'm.
Is it that long of a delay? My God,
it's about 5 to 6 seconds right now.
I bet it's longer than that because, dude, I'll sit here for 10 seconds before you say something.
Oh, goodness.
Hey, man. Well, I'll tell you what. Do you want me to go ahead and jump off and just let you finish the show today?
Yeah, I guess I can. So are you do you want to do a Friday show? Think you do a Friday show?
Call me.
All right. See.
All right, later.
See you. Oh no. So I am losing Patrick on this show tonight. So I'll do an abbreviated form of the show, and then we'll get some of the things that I had discussed on the show on Friday. So, and Aaron, hey, thanks for your understanding. Let's see, what else were we going to discuss? Okay, so we were giving Ohio State their props for winning the national championship, and also that concludes this season. And plus, I have to pull up the graphic for the final standings that we have. So Patrick, in that game, he did pick Ohio State to win. I was going for the miracle Notre Dame win and hopefully getting the final score. That was the only way I was going to win. But as everything turned out, Patrick won for the year. His picks were 61-28. I'm 58-31. And this is the third year in a row that he has defeated me in our BOFA Sports College Football Pick'em Challenge. So props for Patrick on that. And I'll make sure that he's on here when I show the graphic again when we do a show on Friday. So with that concludes the college football season. Very interesting season, of course, and there was a lot of questions on whether or not the 12-team playoff was going to take anything away from the regular season. And I think it's fair to say, I love it, Aaron. It was definitely his non-Sharpie beard. I'll tell him you said that about his beard. Yes, with the college football season, there was a lot of questions on who would, or if the season was going to lose any bit of its meaning because the playoff was moved from the 12 teams. And I think it is safe to say that was not the case at all. If anything, it added more to the regular season because a lot of these teams who did not have an opportunity before, lower your group of 5 teams, maybe some of the teams in the Big 10, SEC, ACC, Big 12, some of those other power conferences, they feel like they have a little bit more of a chance if they can get in. Now, obviously, teams like SMU, Indiana, and again the other one. Well, actually, okay, so yeah, Tennessee and Clemson were the other teams that got knocked out in the first round. But teams like SMU and Indiana actually got in the dance. And yeah, they got beat in their first game, but at least they have a chance. Boise State at least had a chance. And I think that's all the teams want when they go into the season is a chance to do something. So I think you got that. Of course, there will be adjustments made. Don't be surprised if the playoffs go to 16 teams at some point because I mean, there's a lot of money to be made and everybody wants their piece of the pie. So there will be adjustments made, of course, but I think this was great. I don't have any issues with it. Of course, when things don't work out the way people want them to work out, they're going to complain about every single thing. But this was fine. And it's the first year. Give it time. Let's see how it develops. And if you still don't like it, which a lot of people probably will not because they're never happy, then go ahead and complain. But for now, let's chill. It's all right. Season was cool. Playoffs were cool. Let's let it develop over the next couple of years or few years. So we will go to the NFL and preview these games, the conference championship games. So what we were going to do was look at, before we got to the championship games, we were going to play a game. So for everybody who might be new to this show, what we like to do with teams that get knocked out in the playoffs, and it's normally one of those middle rounds. So in this case, in the NFL, it's the divisional playoff round. In the NBA, it's that conference semifinal round. And we like to play a game called Run It Back or Break It Up, which means, do we think the current path they are on before they got knocked out of the playoffs, could they stay on this path, or is it time to just break the team up and start over and go in a different direction? So that's what we were going to do with this show as well, with the 4 teams that lost in the divisional playoff. That was the Houston Texans, Detroit Lions, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Baltimore Ravens. But we'll wait for that. So we'll see if we can knock that out on Friday, and hopefully Patrick's internet is a little bit better. So for now, what we'll do is we'll go through the conference championship games, and you have the in the NFC, you got the Washington Commanders. Now, I'm here, as y'all know, I'm here in DC, and I can tell you the place is just it's pumped up. It's been a while since their team has done this well. This is the first NFC championship game they're going to go to in 33 years. So they are here as the 6th seed, and they will play a familiar foe. A familiar foe, like Afro. Sorry, a familiar foe in the Philadelphia Eagles, and of course, this is one of their chief division rivals. And the game will be played Sunday afternoon, 3:00 in Philadelphia. So, man, so looking at both of these teams right now, Washington is playing the better ball. It looks like they are peaking at the right time. The defense is forcing turnovers. They forced 4 or 5 turnovers against the Lions, who of course was the number 1 seed, and they won that game going away in Detroit. Philadelphia, on the other hand, they won their 2 games. Washington beat Tampa Bay in Tampa before going to Detroit and winning. And Philly has their wins both at home over the Green Bay Packers and the LA Rams. In both of those games for Philly, Saquon Barkley is still breaking off big runs. He still looks good and is, I mean, if it wasn't for him, I don't know where Philly would be, because Jalen Hurts, the last couple of games, he has not looked good throwing the ball. He's been taking some questionable sacks even, and he just hasn't looked as sharp since coming back from that concussion. But here they are, and they have home field advantage for this game. It's their third straight home playoff game. I'm doing it. I'm picking the Commanders to win this game. I just like how they are playing. I love how they have surrounded or kind of galvanized around Jaden Daniels. And this dude has been playing like nothing bothers him. He's definitely not playing like a rookie. But now everybody else around them is playing well. Like I mentioned, the defense is playing aggressive and they're forcing turnovers. And that offense is playing with a lot of confidence. They're running the ball well. And yes, I see that, Aaron. And you know what? Like Cliff Kingsbury, to me, he's a good coordinator. That is where, like, some people are just better coordinators than coaches, and I think Cliff Kingsbury is one of those guys. So, like, if he was to get a head coaching job, I don't know how good he does there. I know there was a little bit of success with Arizona playing with Kyler Murray, and then all of it kind of fell apart at the end, mostly because Kyler Murray didn't really develop. But if you get him in this role as an offensive coordinator, he can do some things. And it's very evident. Just being able to design that offense around what Jaden Daniels does. And the receivers they have. I mean, Terry McLaurin, for people who don't know, like Terry McLaurin has been a very good receiver ever since he's gotten into the league. And he has had a whole bunch of quarterbacks throwing him the ball. And finally, he has a guy who can deliver the ball and a guy who can take the team to that next level. So happy for guys like that who have been on the Commanders for a long time. And they're finally getting to get a taste of some playoff success. And I think it continues. I think it will be a close game. Weather, I don't think it will be a huge factor. I think it will warm up. And when I say warm up, maybe get up to the 30s or 40s for the game. It's been low 20s with single digit wind chills here. So I think the weather would be similar up there in Philadelphia. So I think it'll be like 30s and 40s there. So I don't see weather being a huge factor there. But I do think the Commanders will go into Philadelphia and pull this out. I have a score of 24-20. And of course, we'll make sure Patrick gets his scores in there too. I just think the way the Commanders are playing, they are playing with house money. Anything is possible. And that's their mindset. That's their attitude. And with Philly, even though they have gotten to this point, it just seems like a house of cards. There could be a play where just everything just falls apart for them, and they're not looking that good. And they could fix it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Philly win the game, but I think the Commanders get it done, and they will play the winner of the AFC Championship game between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, you know the story with Kansas City. They are the two-time Super Bowl champs. They have won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 seasons. And of course, they're going for a three-peat with this run here. They're coming off of a 23-14 win over the Houston Texans. And it was typical Kansas City. Now, I get it. Everybody was talking about a couple of calls that went against the Texans in terms of the contact that happened with Patrick Mahomes. But Houston wasn't good enough to beat them anyway. CJ Stroud got sacked 8 times, and they let, out of all people, Travis Kelce, the main target, who's always been the main target there in Kansas City. They let him run wild. Houston's just not, they're not ready for prime time. So they want to complain about the calls. Okay, cool. But again, the referees didn't get CJ Stroud sacked 8 times. And the referees didn't cause Travis Kelce to be wide open down the middle of the field. So miss me with all the excuses. But Kansas City is here in this spot, and they're playing a Buffalo Bills team that might be the best one they have had. This is a Buffalo team that, one, knows they can beat Kansas City. Yes, I get it. It hasn't happened in the playoffs, but Buffalo is not going to be afraid, and they're not going to have a loser mentality going into Kansas City. They're going to believe they can win this game, and they've been close, just haven't quite made those plays. Josh Allen, every time they have played, well, with the exception of the 2020 championship game, AFC championship game, where he struggled there, when they have faced Kansas City in the playoffs, he's played pretty well in those games. So I think he'll be ready to go. But the defense and special teams are also playing complementary football. There's a good running game there with James Cook as well. So it's going to come down probably to a few plays. We know what Kansas City does in these clutch situations. They just seem to make the plays, whether it's a Patrick Mahomes run or throw, clutch sack or something by their defensive end / tackle, Chris Jones. It's going to be, I think, a game that is just nip and tuck, like these games have been. I've been going back and forth between this. Normally, I go on the side of, if a team has been successful for a while, somebody has to show me they can beat them. And I probably should go that way, but you know what? I'm feeling froggy. I'm picking the Bills, and I think it will be close. I think the Bills will get it done. They will knock the Chiefs off their pedestal. Now, of course, if I'm wrong about this and then ends up being a Commander and Chiefs Super Bowl, then it won't be surprising. Wouldn't be surprised if it's an Eagles and Chiefs Super Bowl either. But I do think I do think the Bills are gonna pull this out, and I think it'll be some weird score. Maybe. Nah, you know what? I mean, there might be some points. I say high 20s, low 30s. I think it gets there. So I'm gonna go with the score of, I said something crazy. Maybe it's like 29-26. And I know we haven't really been given the scores to that for the NFL game, but I guess I just decided that I'll give scores out. I won't ask Patrick to do the same, but if he does, that's cool too. But I have both road teams winning the championship games. So I think it will be Washington and Buffalo playing for the Vince Lombardi Trophy February 9th in New Orleans. Again, I could miss both of these, but I think these two teams are starting to peak. The Chiefs, they've just been getting by. I think it catches up with them in this game. Ooh, excuse me. And I think the Eagles, they just seem like a house of cards. I think if the Commanders are able to put some real game pressure on them, which I think they will, I can see it falling apart for them. So yeah, Commanders, Bills, Super Bowl. I guess to wrap up the show, we were going to talk about some basketball with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have not been doing good. They are around 500, looking like a team that's going to miss the playoffs altogether as we come up towards the All-Star break and the trade deadline that's going to be happening in a few weeks. Now, what I don't like is people going through, and look, I understand in the world of journalism, in your 24/7 news cycle, there are going to be stories that come out, content has to be produced. But what gets on my nerves is where people are so quick to ask if it's time for a player to go the minute adversity hits. And we know Steph Curry and the Warriors have been very successful in the last decade or so. They have 4 championships. They could have had one another one, excuse me, in 2016. They lost that series to the Cavs in 17, or excuse me, in 7 games, of course. The LeBron James chase down block. I know everybody remembers the play, but the Warriors have had a lot of success. They also had another NBA Finals appearance where they lost to the Toronto Raptors, that team that was led by Kawhi Leonard, and they are used to being in a spot where they're either competing for championships or at least getting into the playoffs. It does not appear it's going to happen this year. And I think people are so quick to say, well, it's time for him to go, time for him to leave, time for him to get on up out of here. And I don't get why where it became okay for a person to say he's ready to go when things start to unravel. This is a guy in Steph Curry, from all indications. He is happy in Golden State. Obviously, he's not liking the season they're having at this point, which they looked really bad against the Celtics. I think they lost that game 125-85 yesterday. But let them work it out. Let's see if the front office decides they're going to try to do a trade, or if they're going to stay there and let the team develop, get some people back from injury, and see if they can make a run. Either way, let's see if something works out to where things start to turn around a little bit. It doesn't have to be the minute adversity hits, the minute things start to go down south. It's time for the superstar player to go. It's time to start looking at trades that the team can make to try to get them into playoff contention, or time for him to leave the team altogether. There's something to be said for being in a place where you don't have everything that's going your way sometimes, but you can battle out of it. It toughens you up. It sharpens steel, if you want to put it that way. But either way, you're able to get through those times, find out things about yourself that you might not have known was there, that heart, that grit. It just summons you up. Now, I'm not saying let's just go and just fail, because if you do fail, somehow at some point you do have to get back up and figure it out, or you're just going to continue to sink. But there is growth that can come from failure. And I mean, people are afraid of failure. I get being afraid of failure, but you don't know if you're not able to go through those times. Everybody can be okay when everything is going well, but when you go through those tough times, when you go through these times where you're not as competitive as you would like, that's when you find out the most about a person and where those morals are, where those values lie, and how dedicated you are to the craft and trying to do everything you can to make yourself and your team around you better. So I'm sure, and Steph Curry, like, we got to remember also, I mean, he's not young anymore, at least in basketball years. He's 36 years old, and he's played a lot of basketball over these years since he came into the league from Davidson in 2008. So there's some tire, or there's some tread. The tread's is wearing a little bit on the tire. He's still a very, very good player. Obviously, he can still light you up with 10 3-pointers in a game, but he's getting a little bit older, so things they're not coming as free flowing as they were before. But let's see if they can work something out first before we want to go to the is it time for Steph Curry to leave card. It just seems like a bunch of low-hanging fruit and easy, it's just lazy articles from all these people who work at these networks. And again, man, like, I'm a journalist, that is my background, so it really sickens me to see it. I know that's part of the landscape today, but it doesn't make it any less disappointing. So with that, we'll cut the show out for today. That is what I guess I'm breathing on for tonight. Um, Again, hey, I appreciate you, Aaron, for hanging in with us, and for everyone else who was watching the show, thanks for hanging in. Um, Hopefully, we can get back on the show on Friday, and then we can get Patrick's picks in for the championship games, and we can play that game of run it back and break it up as well. So, with that, I apologize for the technical difficulties we were having. And again, thanks for hanging in with us. So visit the BOFA Sports YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button and follow the BOFA Sports Facebook page. I will talk with Patrick to make sure that we can get on there for Friday. I don't know what time that will be, but as soon as we figure it out, you'll get the alerts. So hope y'all can join us then. And if not, then we hope to see you at this time next week. So everybody take care. Appreciate it. And talk to you soon.